Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. A week ago, I told you that I'd planned to do a show where I was just really breaking down the type of fishing that I do so that all of you could maybe do the same thing. And I realized that maybe it wasn't the best thing to do. But this week, I really want to share with you one of the ways that I can catch fish, even though things do change. Year after year, it works out the same for me, and that is to use if you use an ultralight rod and reel. It's a very little spinning rod with light line. It enables you to fish with really small baits, and a lot of times small baits can be the most effective way to catch fish. You know, a fly fisherman, when they go out and they go out in search of some of these big, beautiful trout, they can catch them on the tiniest little bait. These fish are used to eating tiny little flies. And so little baits can catch fish. And what I have found, that if I wanted to tell any visitor coming here newly to experience our waters, that if you try what I've used, you can catch fish just like I do. It's not magic. I use little soft plastic imitation lures that look like a crayfish or maybe some other creature in the water. And the way that I fish them is to take an ultralight rod and reel with very light. I use 10-pound braid. Now, believe me, 10-pound braid is so thin, it's like you were using almost a gossamer of line. And it enables you to take a very little light lure and throw it out there effortlessly. The other joy of this is that to feel the fish fight on an ultralight rod is a great part of the fishing experience. You know, you can take a 14-inch bass and it becomes a monster if it's fighting you at the end of a little graphite rod that only weighs in a couple ounces, and it just changes the whole experience. So this is what I recommend. I use the lightest possible jig head that I can. And in this case right now, it's a 1/32 ounce. Now, the reason I can still cast it out because the little ultralight rod enables me to do that. And it can float in the current naturally. And that weight is so minimal that it slowly allows your bait to get down near the bottom where the fish are probably going to be finding so much of their food without snagging constantly in the rocks. I don't want to have my bait caught in the rocks all the time. I'm going to be breaking my line and wading out and ruining the pool and doing all this. And so if you use something that light, it can be effective. The only thing is, when you use a tiny little jig head like that, it's going to have a tiny little hook. And sometimes we think, well, we're not going to hook the fish with tiny hooks. Well, you will hook them. In fact, it becomes more difficult to get the hook out of them when it's just a tiny little thing. But anyway, if you do as I say in this case, you will catch a lot of fish. And my favorite lures are imitation crayfish. And I've really got hooked on, excuse the pun, Berkeley's Max Scent baits. And you can get either little tube jigs, and they work fantastic, or imitation crayfish, or you can get imitation that make them look like, they call them flatworms, and they look like a minnow or something in the water. They work tremendously. But if you're fishing these waters, especially when they're shallow, like they have been this summer, and they still are, it doesn't take much weight to get snagged in the bottom. So by using these tiny little light lures, it can enable you to go out, and I'll tell you what, you can't believe the number of bass that you will catch using these light lures. Now, you'll catch a lot of little ones, but you'll catch some big ones too. And if I were taking my kids out, I would want them to be able to have action and catch fish. And this is one of the best ways to do it. And you don't want to be snagging the bottom constantly. So this is my tip. And colors do matter. I found that when one color you can't go wrong with, and it doesn't really change year after year, is green pumpkin color. It's a natural, like auburn color, and that works so well. I don't care if you're using soft plastics or if you're a fly fisherman and using woolly buggers. That's always a great color, olive colors. And that's what green pumpkin is in soft plastic. So anything that has that color is going to be good. Dark colors like black or brown, they're excellent as well. And sometimes those other brighter colors. And I've told you month after month after month, pink is a dynamic color for almost every fish that swims up here. So anything you have in pink, always make sure you take it and try it. It might be the color of the day. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.